So Fusion is a specialized Gen AI solution for content productivity. They have created a suite of GPTs for various marketing use cases. It actually goes way beyond marketing, but for me, that's what my team uses it for. And for a bit of context, my team is made up of myself, and I also have a content specialist. And we also leverage the Trapeze North America shared marketing team, which allows us access to a graphic designer and a web developer. So for around the past 8 months, we've been using the Fusion GPT Marketing Communications Suite, which is inside of a dedicated ChatGPT team account. So if you have seen the interface of ChatGPT, this will probably look quite familiar to you. It is a Modaxo IT approved solution, and they are also currently working on a Microsoft Azure / Copilot solution for workflows that might involve some more sensitive information if you're looking to upload proprietary information. Luckily, in marketing, most of our content is public facing, so we don't run into that problem too often. But we will move into what it means to plan the work. So we use a tool called the Fusion Marcom Planner, which helped us develop our 2025 Marcom plan through a series of guided prompts. You can see a picture here of what the table of contents ended up looking like and a brief snippet of the executive summary. All of your business units likely have a marketing plan that you spent countless hours on, and using this tool really helped us turbocharge that process and made it much more comprehensive, helped us fill gaps where we didn't have or maybe didn't know information about what to include. So just like your marketing plan, it helps us map our campaign goals, align our content and event plans with our budgeting, and we're able to sync everything cross-departmentally between all of our stakeholders. But one of the really big wins for workforce in using this is that it's helped our team shift from kind of a reactive state of execution to more proactive planning, and that gives us a much clearer roadmap and helps me to plan more by quarter and campaign instead of those very in-the-moment one-off tasks. Now, don't get me wrong, those definitely still happen, but we have a better guide to keep us on track. This quote from our GM, Tim Bigwood, really says it all. He's not on the call today. He's on vacation. His daughter graduated high school last week. So if you get the chance to say congratulations, please do. But here's a sentiment from him that I very much align with, saying we are able to now produce high quality case studies, solution sheets, and more in a fraction of the time in a much more consistent manner throughout the entire marketing team. And then once your plan is set, we move more over into the execution phase. And this is where generative AI really starts to shine. Pictured here are just some screenshots of recent content that we've developed using the Fusion tools. Specifically, you're looking at 2 blogs that we collaborated with industry executives on to produce. One of those is Karen Philbrick. She's the executive director of the Mineta Transportation Institute. She's very well known for her advocacy in mental health and advancing women in transit. And knowing that, we generated a blog about the importance of mental health for operators for the month of May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month. And we used the tools to help us do our research on that and write it in her tone of voice. And then second, Derek Calhoun, who at the time, I think he's at BART now, but at the time he was Chief Operating Officer for SVTA. He collaborated with us on a peer mentoring program blog series about a program his agency has that we also used the tools to help us develop. And that actually ended up in a Modaxo newsletter. It was one of the first executive industry collaborations that we did. So they've been turning out nicely because of the research that we've been able to do using the research and the generation that we've been able to use the tools to do. And you're also seeing the heading for a case study for Delaware Transit Corporation. I really wanted to make sure I featured a case study because the tools have helped us streamline our case study workflows so much. A quick synopsis of that is we have a quick 30-minute phone call with the agency that we're wanting to write a success story on. We have it transcribed. We upload that transcription to the tool that we're using, and we have it generate a case study based on our existing formats and templates. So really, the bulk of the work is taken out, and all you're waiting on is approval from the agencies, which, as we know, is the thing that takes the longest. Well, now it's the thing that takes the longest, whereas before, the development of the content took quite a bit of time as well. All that to say, though, to make all of this content, the simple steps that we took were you launch the Fusion GPT model that's best suited for whatever task you're working on, which I am going to show you all during the demo what that looks like. Then we followed the built-in prompts to customize our format, our tone, our audience, and a few other things that you'll also get to see. And then finally, you use your very own, might I say, irreplaceable human oversight that helps you review and refine the outputs that get generated, which in my experience typically land about 70 to 80% of the way to the finish line for where we feel content should be before we're sharing it with other stakeholders, internally or externally, and or publishing to our different channels. I'm going to show you all the actual step-by-step process here in just a minute, but using these tools has really helped us not only quicken our workflows, but gain more credibility by helping us engage industry executives for content collaboration, which is something that we weren't able to do prior. By using the GPTs to produce our content in the ghost author's voice, we're able to make it more topical to their expertise and their experiences in the industry, and it has very much simplified the process for them. So for external executive involvement and getting their approvals, it's become a much faster process. And I'm just going to give you guys a quick look on what success has looked like for our teams so far. We are seeing about 50 to 75% faster turnaround times for written content. Our quality output is increased by about 25% improvement in tone, clarity, and consistency. And that's very much attributed to the increased time we have for reviewing and editing. And then we have already produced more content in 2025 than we did in all of 2024. Granted, I will say Workforce didn't have a marketing manager for a period of that time, so I'll take a tiny bit of the credit. But the tools have, again, really just helped us turbocharge that content production process. Okay, so now hopefully the fun part, this is where we are really going to lean into what AI does best, which is for us speed and scale. But it's important to remember that the goal here is not to replace any team members or work. It's really just enhancing our production and creativity, and it leaves a lot more room for strategic decision making and also career development. So here's how we're describing our experiences right now. Interactions with the tool are extremely conversational, sort of like chatting with one of your most intelligent teammates via Teams. That can also make things in seconds, so getting us results super quickly. Our work is much more comprehensive, and we're able to pull best practices straight from using the GPT models, which we are then able to refine using our human oversight. And we're also able to lower our risk by gaining much more time for learning and testing. So the structured prompting that the GPTs provide that you'll see here in a second help us ensure overall quality. Okay, so now I'm gonna switch up my screen a little bit so that you guys can see what I'm working on. All right. I am hoping that you guys can all see the Fusion launcher on my screen here, and I'm sure I will get notified if you can't. But this is what the launcher looks like, and it has a kind of list of various use cases. Again, this is the marketing communication suite. So you'll see our Marcom plan launcher right here, our writer launcher. These are a couple that I use the most. There's ones designed for specific types of content, and then a fact checker, an impact optimizer to optimize existing content, maybe for a different audience. There's so many options. For the sake of this demo, I'm going to jump into the writer because I use it very often. I find it to be very versatile. But you'll see, like I said before, if you're familiar with ChatGPT, this interface will look very familiar to you. And I'm going to give you a little bit of background about what I'm going to try to do here. So in Workforce, we published a case study this week, and I am going to need strategies for promoting that case study in the next couple of weeks. So I'm going to try to get the Fusion writer to help me write an email campaign that goes along with the case study. So to do that, I'm simply going to click Start, and it is going to guide me through the rest. So let's talk about who my audience is. I am going to say it's transit professionals, and let's say decision makers and influencers from mid-sized public transit agencies in North America. And forgive my typos while I'm typing in real time. Public transit agencies in North America. And it's going to say something like, okay, great. What format are you looking for? And to start off, I am looking for an email message to promote a new case study we published this week. And it's going to say, what's the topic? Okay. I'm going to say the topic is, and you don't have to be so literal. You don't have to say what the topic is, but just for the sake of this, I'm being a bit formal. The topic is a success story for Fresno Area Express let's see here, for Fresno Area Express, and asking our readers to engage with the material. And there's a million different ways that you could say that. Okay, what's the writing style and purpose? And it's going to try to give you a couple of examples. You can follow the options listed here, but you're also free to break outside of the box if what you're thinking isn't really listed here. So I'm just going to say persuasive and descriptive. Persuasive in the sense that we want people to read the case study. And what's the word length? So I really like this question because what if you don't know what an optimal email message, how long it should be? I'm going to say, please use best practices for a highly engaged email campaign. It's giving some time to think. So it's telling me that a pretty brief email, 100 to 150 words, is going to be the most compelling for readers. And now it's asking what tone of voice we should use. And for Trapeze, I normally say friendly and professional, or at least I hope that's how we're coming off in our content. And if you wanted here, you could also upload other pieces of content to give it a sense more of what your voice would look like. Okay, excellent. We'll go with friendly and professional. And is there a call to action? Yes, the call to action is to read the case study, but that sounds kind of boring. Can we come up with something more creative to say? Let's just see what it pops out for us. Okay, so it's going to give us a list of options for different call to actions, and we have the option to tailor that once we get to the final output portion. And finally, here it's going to ask me, is there any information or context that it needs to know before entering? And yes, it needs to know what the case study is. So I am just going to pop the URL of the case study into the chat, and it should have no problem reading the text on that page. And so now it's going to summarize everything we've talked about so far. So it's restating our audience, our format, and all of the other things that we talked about, and confirming our calls to action. So it's giving us a proposed outline for me to approve, a couple subject line options, pre-header text. It's just going to break it all down. And since it's only 100, 150 words, it's pretty brief for this time. Okay, and now this outline looks okay to me. So I'm going to say, go ahead. If you had anything here that you weren't happy with, you could just call it. I'd be like, hey, number 6, call to action. I want to reword that. In fact, let's do that. For 6, I want to do something a little more creative. Let's say, can we make the CTA something like, show me what success looks like. Okay. And it might re-pop out the outline before it does the draft now that I've given it. Oh, here we go. Okay, so it's going to give me my entire draft, and it includes the link. It does like to include emojis sometimes, so you can keep or leave those. And so, for example, a couple changes that I know I would make, which you can tell to the tool yourself, or you can just implement it when you actually go to upload this into your email platform. I would say the workforce management team instead of the Trapeze team, but little things like that. So say you're really happy with this, but you have a couple different audiences that you're catering to. So say this looks great. But I noticed earlier I said our audience would be influencers and decision makers. So what if I want an email tailored for individual contributors? So I'll say, can we write a second version tailored for individual contributors? That way you're defining your messaging based on which audience you're reaching out to. And it's going to pop that out for me. And again, this is where human oversight comes in. You might want to, for example, my content specialist might share this with me and ask me if there's any additional edits we want to make or any repositioning we want to take and bring that back to the GPTs. But other than that, that is a very good brief example of how you could use this. And it tries to take it a step further as well. So you see here at the bottom, it says, would you like to A/B test these versions or need a third version for exec level readers? So, I mean, we have some time here. So let me just say, yes, will you please give me an exec level version? All right, and there you go. And so say you're reading this and you're like, well, what's the difference between all of them? Can you highlight the differences between the messaging for each group of readers. That way I know exactly what it's differentiating. And that might give me more insights into how I can tailor messaging when I'm not using this directly. So for decision makers and influencers, the strategy addresses shared frustrations, highlights tangible outcomes. And then for individual contributors, it might zero in on the pain of repetitive manual processes, positions the case study as useful and relatable. And then the same for executive. It's going to try to speak to strategic pain points, demonstrate leadership foresight. So all the different things that you might want to tailor to those groups. And then lastly, so I'm promoting this via email, but I also want to promote the case study on social media. Awesome. Let's craft a social media post for LinkedIn. And I'm also going to say, please use best practices for LinkedIn algorithms, because say I don't know much about that. Let's see if it will plop out something useful. And so I have all the history here and it knows everything that I'm doing. So it's able to pull from that. And as you can see here, this is a pretty standard formatting that we use on our LinkedIn post right now. So we'll do a title, some body text, and then a quick digestible list of how this might be beneficial, and then points you to the call to action again. And it comes complete with popular hashtags that might be used. Okay, that in a nutshell is the demo. I am going to switch back to our slides here. If you'll just give me a minute and I can start answering any questions. Okay.
Okay, Danna, good job. This is Michael
Thanks, Michael.
co-founder of TFS, and we do have some questions coming in. So let me just start. We have about 4 or 5 questions here. So what has the performance and quality of these content outputs been like? Have they been more consistent? Is there more consistent engagement? And do the internal SMEs find the topics to fit, and are they accurate?
Yeah, so we covered a couple questions there. So one, we do find the overall quality is higher, and that's due to a couple things. The initial output is able to kind of scrape the internet for information about the topic that you're discussing. And like you said, based on the context that we give it, it's able to define that. And so we see the initial quality output is greater, but then we also have so much more time to review and edit on our end that we're able to refine that quality even further to match the goals of our business unit. And then as far as other stakeholders in our business unit, we have found the turnaround times for getting feedback much faster, because there's less edits for our product teams to make, less edits for our sales teams to make, because the messaging is a lot more consistent. So to answer your question, yes, yes, and yes. Yeah, thank you, everyone. I just want to do a quick thank you to everyone again for joining. I hope everything that we presented today, that you found it useful and practical for your day-to-day. This goes, again, way beyond marketing, as we've discussed. If there's other use cases or more about marketing that you do want to explore, feel free to reach out to me or give the Fusion guys a shout. There's a QR code up here where you can have a quick consultation with them, whether you are like just getting started with something like this or looking to take your existing use a little bit further. Yeah, this is really just the beginning, and it's something that at Workforce we found extremely valuable. I use this daily, so it's really made a difference in the way our team approaches our workflows for marketing. So yeah, feel free to scan the QR code, book a follow-up chat, and we hope to collaborate with everyone more as this evolves.